Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for 200 subscribers. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you subscribing. I appreciate you supporting my channel, my author journey, and just me. Thank you so much. It's that time again where I sit down and reflect and think about if all 200 plus of you, 209 at the time of recording this video, if all 209 of you were at an event I was hosting, how would I feel? How would I react? I'd feel, I believe, still overwhelmed, very nervous. I'd be shaking. Doing a book signing and it's 209, amazing. Doing a talk with someone on stage and having you guys just sitting and listening to my answers and maybe even being able to do a Q&A. It would be nerve-wracking, but it would also be very cool and surreal. I don't know if my answer is changing much from last video when I reached 100 subscribers. But I'm just super appreciative. I think about like how, because in YouTube analytics, you can see that people watch on their phone, on their computer, and there's a percentage, and I don't know if that's one person or a few people that watch me on their TV, and I can't see myself being watched on a TV. I don't think my videos are of that quality yet. But I appreciate you watching. And then there's also a few that watch on their tablet. And so it's amazing, just technology itself and the ways we can connect with people or be able to learn from others without actually meeting or interacting as much, but still absorbing and still learning. So yeah, it's very cool. I could say, oh, it'd be cool to see like how you would interact with me if I went live, but I can't see myself wanting to go live on YouTube. Not at this time, at least. I don't know if in the future, but right now, I can't see myself wanting to do. That's kind of my 200 subscriber reflection. I also wanted to leave with a song that is a religious song, but when I heard it, it stood out to me. It's what would you do if he was in the room, if God was in the room? And I could pop it up here, who the artist is, but that song and just the way it was sung was very impactful because I was in the car when I first heard it. And so it's just imagining like, what would I do, what would I say? And then it's like, I'm not comparing myself to God. I'm not. But it's just that idea of like, what would I do if I saw him? And reading the Bible and knowing how people give. They give food, they give what they have to offer because they're prepared for this moment. Earlier in the Bible, because I'm still in the beginning, and I'm just like, that's amazing. Like how that's set in stone. That preparation is there. And then it got me thinking about like, I cannot see you guys physically, or half the time I may not know like what you look like because you're I don't know who you are. I don't know your YouTube username, or your profile and your YouTube username isn't you. And so it's just like, what would I do if they were in the room, if my subscribers were in the room? And it's just like, I know I answered be nervous, be appreciative, but also I'd want to get to know you. I feel like I'd ask the question, what do you like about my videos? I would ask that. And just, what do you do? Are you a writer? Are you a creative? Or how are you? How do you connect to my videos or me? What is it about me or my videos that make you connect? Yeah, I'm not sure. It just got me thinking, and it's such a good song, so that's why I wanted to share it, because for some reason I heard that song and I was like, I want to share it in this video. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm making cookies for 200 subscribers. So thank you so much for being here, and let's make cookies together. I'm using this to help me bake the cookies, but I don't know where I got this from. I'm grateful I noticed it, because I think it came with maybe like a group of pans or a group of something, and they gave this for free, and I was like, I'm definitely gonna keep it for when I want to make cookies from scratch. And so here's that day. I thought I wasn't gonna make any dessert for celebration. I thought I was gonna try to figure out something else, but I've been craving a dessert, but I was tired of making my brownies. And so this is nice to make cookies, because I haven't had cookies in a while. If you saw one of my vlogs, I make heart brownies for my partner for Valentine's Day. And so that's kind of like the last time I made dessert. And so it is March 12th, 2025, and it's 3:40 p.m. And so I'm hoping to finish by 4, the whole mixing process, and then have them in the oven at least by 4:05, so that they finish by 4:30, because I have online kind of tutoring, more like reading help that I do with students across the country. And so I have that from basically 4:45 to 7. I do get breaks, but it's not enough to make cookies. So I have just this window for like an hour. And so I'm hoping to get it done. So let's get started. So first, 1 cup of softened butter. I did just take it out, but I'm going to probably melt it. All 8 tablespoons says it's a half a cup, but I'm definitely not using more than just this, because butter costs money as well, and so I'm not trying to use a lot. And so I'm just going to stick with this and use all of it. I'll heat it up for a little bit. I'll just do it in here, because when in doubt, this is helpful. So yeah, I'll just do it in there. I'll use a spoon though, so I'm not wasting utensils. I'll divide it with a spoon, and then when I'm stirring, I get to use the same spoon. Got the butter. Wait. Not all of it was melted, and I didn't know that. But that's okay, because it says softened. They didn't say all melted. I just wanted to melt it all, because it would be easier. And that's the sound of the oven is officially preheated. Now 1.5 cups of sugar. I'm using this. My parents had gave me this when I moved into my apartment on my own, and I loved how colorful these were, because it comes in like a blue, purple, red, green, and that was fun for me. I'm debating if I should just do 1 cup of sugar instead of 1.5 cups, because sugar is sugar. And I don't need too much of it. Or maybe like that and a quarter, maybe. I'm just gonna wing it when it comes to the 1/4 teaspoon of salt and 3/4 of baking soda. Because if this is 1 teaspoon, 3/4 is just close to the top and not the top. And then a 1/4 is just a tiny bit. So I'll just do it that way when I get to there. So I'm just gonna sprinkle like a little spoonful of extra sugar. So that's not 1 1/2, but it's 1 and something. Or 2 spoonfuls. There we go. And so it's less sugar. Whoop, whoop. And now the eggs. 2 eggs is what it calls for. Are you the type that cracks your egg like on the corner of something? Or do you crack it like on the counter to split it? I'm usually of the corner of something, so like the corner of the bowl or I guess the edge of the stove oven area, or the edge of the pan if I'm cooking something actually, not the edge of the stove oven area, more the edge of the pan. But my boyfriend usually does it like on the counter, and so I've been trying it, and it's okay. I think I kind of still like the corner more, but I see how more risky it is to get eggshells in it. But I guess I'm not that great with the counter yet, because sometimes that is still risky for me. I still crack it. I don't have eggshells in my cookies or in my dessert or in my eggs, but it gets close sometimes. And so I either have to like scoop it out because I see where it landed, or I have to, like, when I'm breaking it apart, finagle it so that an eggshell doesn't fall in and it's just the egg and the yolk. So let me show you. This is from the counter, and this is how I cracked it. Yeah, if you can see that. So I was like, I split it open. That wasn't terrible though, and then I just opened it like that. It's like a type of like small animal being born and like coming out, but it's not. I have a napkin here to wipe my hands. And stir, 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 stir. And this is what it looks like. So it looks more like the egg, but sugar, butter, and eggs are in. And what's next? The vanilla extract. I still enjoy the smell of vanilla extract. Still enjoy it. 2 teaspoons, so 2 of these. Next is the all-purpose flour. This is the all-purpose flour I'm using. I have another one, so don't worry. I have another one. I'm prepared. The flour is in. Now time to add baking soda. And I almost messed up because I pulled out baking powder, but luckily I got the baking soda. I reread it and caught myself before I messed up my cookies. 3/4 teaspoon. Now it's like, let me stir first. Let me show you what the bowl. Let me show you what the bowl. Yeah, I need to stir the flour. So 1 second. And if you're wondering, I stir by hand. So that's what I'm doing right now. It's coming together though. Let me show you. Ta-da! I'm gonna add the baking soda now, and then keep stirring. 3/4 teaspoon. All right, baking soda has been added. Stir, stir, stir. It's tough. I will say that it's tough. And I still gotta add the chocolate chips. Let me add the salt and the chocolate chips. I also didn't do it the way they said, because they said to just do the butter, sugar, and eggs and vanilla extract together for the fluffiness, and then do flour, baking soda, and salt in another bowl, and then blend them together. But I just wanted to blend it all together because that's easier for me, and I'm not wasting another bowl. And so that's the key for me. All right, salt time. We have regular salt, but my boyfriend believes, but I think he's also correct, that Himalayan or pink salt is healthier. And so this brand may not be healthier, but yeah. And I get his point, and so I'm just going to use that instead of the regular white salt, even though we have a bunch of it and need to use it for something. But you know, it's just sitting there until then. Guess how many cups of semi-sweet chocolate chips they asked for? Guess. Ready? Drum roll, please. Let me make sure I'm saying it right to you. Okay, it's 2 cups. And so this is the brand I use. Essential. Ooh, if you can see it. I use Essential. And then I also have another brand I use, but it's only when I go to like specific places. And so I don't remember. I took a picture, so I do have at least what that brand is, but I don't remember off the top of my head. But I like semi-sweet chocolate chips, even for my brownies. That's what I use. And my boyfriend and I are trying to like choose healthier brands, choose healthier stuff. And this out of like the Ghirardelli or the, I think Hershey's is there. Out of those brands, this was healthier. And so that's why I choose this one. It smells like the dough. Like, oh, it just smells nice. It smells, that's refreshing. Like, it smells like cookie dough. And that's good. That is good. So now let me add the chocolate chips instead of just talking about them. And also, I guess 2 cups is technically by person, because like my brother likes chocolate chip cookies, but he does not like too many. He wants just the right amount on a cookie, and so he probably would do less than 2 cups. Me, I might still do less, but maybe like 1.5 cups. I'll see what 1 cup looks like when I stir it, and then I'll decide. Also, another fun fact I'm realizing, this, you can't really see. I don't want to spill it. Yeah, let me do it this way, easier way. This amount of chocolate chips is definitely more than the amount of chocolate chips I use for my brownies, because I use 3/4 cup, I believe, and that's it. So I'm definitely not going to use any more. I only have half a bag left. It's right here. So yeah, no, I'm not going to use 2 cups. I'm going to use just this 1 cup, because this is definitely more than how much I make for brownies. Even though my brownies are flat, I will say they're not flat, but they're definitely lower to the pan, but they're still yummy. And so no, I don't need that much. I may put some of this back, so I'm going to sprinkle, stir, and see how it goes. So this is like so far. And I don't want it to taste like sugar cookies, because I want chocolate chip cookies. And so I'm probably going to add a little bit more. But again, probably not the whole cup. All right, time check and everything else is 4:11, so I need to get the show on the road a little bit more. So I think I'm going to stop here with this much. So this much is going back in the bag. And then, I don't know if this, I don't think it's the first time I'm making cookies from scratch. I think I have a long, long time ago, but it's definitely my first time in a while making cookies from scratch. So it's cool. That's nice. I'm happy I'm doing it. Because I like baking. I'm not big on cooking. I'm still trying to get better because I do still need to have that skill. But I like baking more. And so I could do this. It's comforting. It's nice. I like treats. So this is up my alley. They say on an ungreased pan. So that's what I'm going to put it on. I'm just going to grab another spoon to help me make as many as it'll make. So this is how much is left. So I need to add chocolate chips for that. But these are what they look like. I hope they'll spread out nicely. And that they'll be yummy. I probably should try to make them neater. But I'm not. I'm on a time crunch. So we have 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 8 here. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 here, plus a little dot I was able to make. So 16 plus 1 is 19 cookies. Almost 20. Almost 20 cookies. All right, time to put them in the oven. Here we go. They say it should take 8 to 10 minutes. 8 minutes will bring me just at 4:30, so I'd still be on time. Even if it needs 3 extra minutes, I think I should be okay. So yeah, thank you for baking cookies with me. I hope you enjoyed the process. We may not get to try them, or I know I say we, but you don't get to try some. But if you have dessert at home, you can eat it with me. But I may not get to try the cookie until maybe 5 something, or maybe not until after 7. We'll see, but you'll definitely get a video of me trying it. Check back in soon. I taste the batter a little bit. I know. Don't eat cookie dough batter. I understand. But that tastes sweet to me. And I did less sugar. So that's very interesting. I'm going to be very interested how these cookies turn out. And we're going to see if my refined or fine-tuned version of the recipe still tastes good with needing less semi-sweet chocolate chips, less sugar, and slightly less vanilla extract. I just did like a little slight, but yeah. Oh, and less butter. So we'll see. So this is what they look like so far. So it's been 8 plus 2 plus 4 minutes, so 14 minutes. I think I should take them out. They're starting to look more like cookies. I think I should. 1 second. It's 4:39. I have until 4:44. So, because of my class or session starts at 4:45. So I'm going to give it 2 more minutes. 2 more minutes. Set the timer. So I officially took it out. It's been officially 16 minutes. I can see how some may have needed more chocolate chips than others, but I'll try it later. Here you go. I'm gonna show you. Ready? Drum roll, please. I only have one hand. All right. So they don't look bad. I don't want them to get burnt, so I'd rather just take them out now. So we'll see how they turn out. 35 minutes later, and this is how they look. And I just pulled this one up. The bottom looks good. And may could argue that that's too light and it could have been darker, or it may just be just right. All right, I'm going to take my first bite with you. I'm going to do the cookie I had just showed you. So this is it. All right, it's got a few chocolate chips. It looks good. You can see it into the bottom, so that's nice. All right, 3, 2, 1. I was worried because it's so light that it would taste more like a sugar cookie than a chocolate chip cookie. But no, it tastes like a chocolate chip cookie. Mm-hmm. This is the inside. It's good. It does have, like, I guess you would call it a cakey taste, which means I guess I should have added a little bit more sugar like they wanted. Or maybe more chocolate chips. I don't know. But I like it. I'm happy. We'll see what my boyfriend thinks and then take it from there. Because I do like cookies and I am big on, like, would I go there again? There is something needed for this to taste a little better. And that could just be the sugar. So yeah. So yeah, rating it out of 10. I'm leaning to a 7 right now, but I want to taste it like tomorrow and see if it still be a 7. So I'll update you after it like sits. It's fine. It's fine. It's still tasty. I'm just wondering also, like, why is it so light? Like, what was I supposed to do? Was I supposed to add brown sugar? It didn't say it, but, like, was I supposed to so it looks not so light? I don't know. Yeah, I'm looking at some on this pan. Definitely could have had, like, a little bit more chocolate chips. So that is a me. That is a me doing less. But I still, maybe if I used that whole 1 cup, would have been great, but definitely not 2 cups. Definitely not 2 cups. But yeah, I did it. Whoop, whoop, I did it. Whoop, whoop. Yay. Thank you again for being here. And I'll see you in the next part. So I'm going to choose this spot sitting on the floor near my couch to answer some questions. Thank you, Uniquely Ashanti's Corner, for asking me questions. She is the only one that asks me questions, but if you do have questions for me, you can leave them down below in this video. But without further ado, let me answer questions for my 200 subscriber video. Craziness. Thank you again for being here. So question 1. Who are some of your favorite realistic fiction writers and why? So the first that comes to mind is Tiffany Jackson. I think it's Tiffany D. Jackson. She is the reason I'm continuing. Like, I'm keeping going because of just seeing the books that she has written and just how she's just continuing. She's just going after and sharing the stories that are passionate to her. And so she has always stood out to me. And I sadly haven't read any Jason Reynolds books, but I do now since my birthday of 2024. I have 2 of his books on my shelf and I want to get to them because I know he writes realistic fiction and I know he does a lot of writing connected to like middle grade, but also, younger children and also young adult, and he does really well with realistic fiction. I know, how am I saying this if I never read any of his books? I've read the synopsis of many of his books. I've also heard him talk in interviews, and I can see his passion. I can understand how he just is trying to connect with being a human, going through life, going through school, and just showing an experience, showing a moment. And it seems like he does that really well. And I don't have an answer to why I haven't read his books yet and why it's taken me so long. But I'm so excited to read The Long Way Down because I have that on my shelf, and then I have one other. I think it's The Boy in the Black Suit. And so I'm definitely plan to read Jason Reynolds this year. Yeah. And then another person that comes to mind, though it's also poetry, but Ellen Hopkins, because Ellen Hopkins was a part of my childhood, or not my childhood, high school years. Um, she kept me going because she added a unique element to her stories. Her stories were about teens going through hardship, or sometimes depression, sometimes something with family, sometimes I don't know, just something hard or difficult. But her style of writing is always in poetry form, and that's amazing to me. And that's something that always stood out to me. I'm like, whoa, you could write a novel, but technically each chapter's in poetry form. That's so interesting. But she's just doing it. That's just her style, and she's going after it. And so I guess that's why those three had come to mind, because they're just doing their style. They're doing what stories are calling them, and they're making it their own. They use their creative voice, and they share the stories that connect with them or that they feel like needs to be told. And I want to be at a stronger level of sharing realistic fiction stories um, that are relatable, that have down to earth characters, but also that talks about issues, or talks about life, or talks about family, or talks about friendship, or just talks about growing up. And so, yeah, I feel like those are my three. There could be more that I'm forgetting, but those are my three. All right, question number 2. When and how did you discover your love for writing? Dun dun dun. Oh, wow. Okay, so I have 2 answers. One is poetry. I discovered I enjoyed poetry, I guess, in 3rd grade, maybe 2nd. But basically, it was that through the help of my mom, because she sent me to an after school program where we were writing poetry about nature. And poetry came easily for me. It's always come easy for me to just write what I'm seeing and make a story or a thought process behind, like, why is the squirrel moving like that, or why does the tree stand out so much in this scenery in the city versus if it was like in the woods. And so poetry was my first, I guess, natural form of writing, and it's always stuck with me, and it makes me think deeper. And so I was grateful for doing the after school program, because I stuck with that from elementary. Then I took a break in middle school, or I joined back in towards the end of middle school. And then I did it a little bit, or for 1 year in high school. And so it was cool to just have that a part of me and be able to have that writing outlet. But then the second part, which is like a separate video I've been wanting to record, but for some reason something's been holding me back. But I'll share it here with you. The second way that I got into writing was through the show. What's it called? Lazy Town. Have you ever seen Lazy Town? So that show, when it first premiered, for some reason I thought it was one episode and done. And so I watched the first episode, loved it, and thought, oh no, for some reason the network didn't renew it. And so I said, I'm going to write my own end or my own continuation. And so literally, I think that day or that night, it could have been the next day, I don't know. But I wrote a continuation of Lazy Town. And then maybe a few days later, or maybe the next week, or maybe it had to have been a few days later, I saw a commercial, or the next week I saw there was a new episode, and I was like, oh, this story or this show is continuing. For some reason, my silly brain thought it would be over, but I enjoyed the characters and I enjoyed the world and I enjoyed the concept so much of Lazy Town that I wanted to continue. And so I continued it. And so from there, I guess it sparked like, this creative outlet is fun. It was fun to imagine how those characters would react or what the characters would do next. And I guess you could call that early fan fiction, without me knowing what it means, because I was 8 years old. Or whenever Lazy Town premiered, I would have to look it up and then see how old I was. But I think I was 8 or 9. And so I'm just like, that's truly what sparked it. That plus after that, I started writing about my class, so my elementary school class, and I was like making crazy things. I was like, there was one episode of Arthur where they go in a cave, and so I'm in that they're a class going in a cave learning about bats, I believe. And so I made my class have to go into a cave, but of course, like, I made it dramatic and like they got stuck in there or whatever. And I was just seeing how my classmates, or I was creating how my classmates would react, and I would share it over the phone with my friend. And so I would just tell the story to her. And to this day, I don't know if she knows how much that impacted me, but me telling her the story was fun. I enjoyed it so much. But there was one time I told her the story, and then the next day, because we would talk probably every night. I don't know, every night after school, maybe, if not close to every night. And half the time, if we're not watching Wheel of Fortune together, because we would do that, we would guess Wheel of Fortune over the phone. If not doing that, I was just telling her made up stories and she was enjoying and laughing along. But there was one night where it was like the day after we had just had a phone call. The next day, she was like, that was such a cool idea that I wrote down what you said. And I was like, whoa, you wrote down my made up story idea because you enjoyed it so much. That made me realize, like, oh, I'm good at this. Like, I'm having fun. Plus, it seems like I'm good at it because my friend enjoyed it. And so that was like an eye opening experience. And I don't know if she even realized how much she impacted me. I don't even think I realized how much that impacted me until probably 2 years ago, reflecting and just writing, like, going over prompts based on like other authors have given to just explore like self-reflection and understanding like your why do you write, and how did you start, why do you have this passion, why do you have this love for it. And during doing that like prompt and that writing entry, it made me realize that, oh, my friend kind of like helped me feel like confident or excited about my writing capability. And so that's the truth behind two of the different ways I fell into the love of writing for both poetry and my fiction. And even just sharing this now, it made me think of how I used what I had. So, like, Lazy Town, I used those characters because that's what I had at the time. And then I used my classmates because those are people I knew at the time to understand how they would react. And I guess it helped absorb into like, oh, now when I write fiction, it's from my mind. I don't want to do it based off people I know, but there may be sprinkle elements of just how would someone else respond to something. And so those were like early learning moments and learning days of me figuring that out. And so that's cool. Yeah. 1 second, I gotta go check on my pasta, so I'll be back. So my pasta's not done yet, so let's continue. Question number 3. Do you prefer reading physical books or ebooks? I still prefer reading physical books. I have gotten more into ebooks, but I'm still slow with it. I tend to read ebooks on my computer because it has a bigger screen and I don't have a tablet or a Kindle and I don't really want one. So, but physical books, just having the book, being able to turn the page. I remembered my love for hardcover books because the what's it called, the sleeve, you could use that as a bookmark depending on if you're what page you're on, and so you can use the front of the sleeve to hold your page, or you can use the back of the sleeve. And so I've been enjoying that because that's always just, I don't know why, but it's fun to me. I'm like, that's cool. It has a double use. It makes the cover, it has the cover and it makes it look pretty, but you can also take it off and see this second layer that may just say the title or that may have something cool as like a second cover. But it can also be used as a bookmark. And so, yeah, I still like physical books, but I'm not knocking ebooks as much as younger Desiree would. Because ebooks used to also give me a headache. Like reading online used to give me a lot more of a headache, and now it's gotten better, but I also don't do it as often. So I think that also factors. Question number 4. What is your process in creating names for your characters and the title for your stories? So, speaking for titles first, I tend to have bad titles. I don't even know how I get them, but they're just like placeholders that in my mind aren't placeholders. They're the title until I get to like closer to the finished draft, and I'm like, I know I have to actually change it to relate to the story, because my initial title was maybe just for like a scene and not the whole book, not the whole premise, and not the whole plot. And so I guess that's how I do my titles in the beginning, is based on a scene and not the whole book. And then so for example, my novel Home Sweet Home was originally called Dad Help. And that's based on a traumatic experience that Lasher has, but also that Olivia has. And so they want their dads to help them. And so it was Dad Help for the longest, but I knew that had to change. And so I worked with my beta reader, which I do have a video about, to help me, who he helped me, but not fully, but he did help me kind of narrow it. Of like, I'm like, oh, thinking of the premise, thinking of the plot, creating a synopsis for my story. What is the heart of my story? And I wanted it to kind of be deep and not deep. And then how I really got this title, which probably won't happen all the time, but I was over my boyfriend's family's house and they had a sign on the door that said Home Sweet Home. And I'm like, that is a common phrase. That is an inviting phrase. That is for a welcoming, warm home. But what if the home wasn't as warm and welcoming? Or what if the home was just difficult? And I was like, that's my book. Like Home Sweet Home, but the sweet is crossed out because it's not as sweet as it could be, or as my characters want it to be. And so that's how I got the title for Home Sweet Home. But for my poetry book, Stay at Home Calls for Poetry, it was because that was when the pandemic first started, or at least that's when I started creating the poems. By the time it was published, it was more like in the middle. But I got stay at home calls for poetry because it was stay at home times. And then poetry was calling me. So that's how I got that. So I guess the answer is more me thinking of the whole premise of my book and doing something that still would be a comfort for me and that sounds like something I would use as a title, I guess, versus it being, I guess, super clever or super punny. Even though I enjoy puns, puns wouldn't work for these type of books because that's not the point. And so this is not like a romance book where you could like play with the punniness, or this isn't a comedy book. And so it's taking notes, of course, also from other people in my genre, but also having it relate to my story and having it also relate to me. But I don't know how to explain more what I mean by relating to me. I just mean like kind of something I would say, but more kind of just I would say, yep, I made that title versus like, oh, someone else with a bigger brain made that title. And I guess maybe with like traditional publishing, like it would be fine that if maybe later down the line I would have to figure that out, like a middle ground of like someone's bigger brain and then my brain and how it could come together for a good title. Um, but right now, that's how I get titles. I feel like once I write more books or finish, I'm in the mix of many. But once I finish, I will have better answers. But for right now, that's my answer. And then characters, I now since probably 3 4 years ago, I've been making a list of character names, and I'll use them when I see fit, but sometimes it's also just trial and error or what I feel in the moment. Lasher. Lasher was because of how his parents lashed out, and especially his dad. And so it's kind of like trauma behind it, mixed with selfishness, mixed with anger of why Lasher's name is Lasher. But then Harvey, I sadly could not tell you how I got to Harvey. I know because I always try to look at back in the day names, because Harvey's, so I have two different timelines. Lasher's is 2010 and Harvey is 1980s. So I probably looked up baby names like popular or common, or what kind of sounded like a back in the day given name. And then plus sometimes I fill a letter but I don't fill the whole name, and so like I could have probably said guy or boy names that start with H, and then I go through it and whatever stands out to me. So maybe Harvey stood out to me and I was like, yep, that's his name. So that's definitely sometimes how I choose names, because the first letter stands out to me but not the rest of the name. And so I have to figure it out by just looking up girl names, boy names, baby names, and seeing what calls me. So yeah, I hope that answers the question. Question number 5. You mentioned you have some movie ideas. What genres will you explore? Action, drama, romance, thriller? Yes, I do. I do have movie ideas. So, fun fact, the first movie that I want to tell you about that I want to work on is a horror movie, a horror comedy movie. But do I like horror? No. Am I particular what comedy movies I like? Yes. But I still want to make it, and I don't know why. I just know that it's been calling me. I want it to have some comedic elements, some realistic elements, but also like that horror. And I don't know if it's horror like suspense or horror like gore. And I still don't even know if it's horror with a mask or with that, because I can't stand the movies with the mask. I can't do it. I don't like it. But I really want this movie. I know it's two older guys are the main characters. I do not know if they are friends or if they're brothers. Have not decided, but I know something happens with them and why this other guy, I think, is like after them. But I don't know why he's after them, and I don't know what he looks like. And again, I don't know if he wears a mask or not. I know he kind of wears all black, kinda, maybe a dark gray. I'm not sure, but that's one. My other idea is, fun fact, in college I took a screenwriting class and we had to do write a screenplay based off a song or a title or something else. I don't remember, but I chose song. And so I want to write a college movie. It's still a family drama, but it's also like you're seeing college life. Um, there's that messiness with like relationships, friendships, keeping up with school. And I think something like sad has happened in her life. And so I'm trying to just like balance like her coming of age and trying to just figure herself out, not just in college, but like just in life now because it's that transition time. I don't know if she's a sophomore or junior, but I know she's not a freshman. But also, she's still trying to deal with, maybe she is a freshman actually, but she's still trying to deal with something that pains her that happened with her and her family. I'm not saying I know what it is, but I just don't want to share it yet. But I like period pieces apparently because this has to take place whenever the Lego movie came out. And I don't know why I like period pieces. I want to write like things for now, and I kind of have another idea. Is newish, but basically it's like being a bystander when people are bullying or when people are doing something harmful or hurtful. Um, and it's just like seeing like the choice you could have made and the choice you made and like what becomes of their life and what could have became their life. Like is that, but I want it to start in like middle school, but maybe also show like adults. I don't know yet. But again, that's kind of like contemporary drama, teen drama. I don't know. But I guess the genre for that would be just like drama. Um, Yeah, so I don't really. Oh, I do have an action movie idea. I want to make realistic superheroes. I want to. And the impact of the people that, like the big scenes where the heroes rescue the person or a bunch of the part of the building is falling down and people are running. What about the people that still got hurt in their leg or still got whiplash from being caught by the superhero and then they're put down because the superhero has to still save someone else? Like that's an impact, and that impacts you for the rest of your life sometimes, if not just the rest of a few years. And so I want to just see that life and just show it. But I would have to like create superheroes, create certain things that happen. And then there's another action movie I want to do that's more from the superhero perspective, but he's still an average guy that just builds up like his stamina and his muscles, and like he gets hurt. Like when someone punches him, like you'll see the bruises longer than I'd say you see in like action movies. So I just want to add that realism. That's me. Me. I just want to show the realism with the still interesting, fun, engaging plot. So those are some of the movies I want to write. Thank you for asking. I'm finally talking about it. There's another one, but first I want to make it a book before I make it a movie, but I also don't want to share it with you. I've only shared this with two people. I still definitely want to make this, but you'll find out later. way later. But yes, yes. Um, but yeah, those were the questions. Um, it was fun talking. Again, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. And I'm gonna end the video here. If you'd like to support me, you can like this video, you can share this video, you can comment down below. You can buy my books. I have a poetry book out, I have a fiction novel book out. You could buy my 2025 poetry calendar. Any way you would like to support, I appreciate. And don't forget, just write your story, and take care.